Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our course on BC310 Church and Ministry Administration. We started this off last week, and we are now in lesson number 2. We started talking about the objectives of good administration. We mentioned that administration is an art, a science, and a spiritual gift, right? So as an art, many people have it in themselves, and of course, it can be nurtured, it can be developed. As a science, we can learn the skills. People can teach us how to do this. And as a spiritual gift, we have to use it, exercise it, and God anoints it, and God empowers us to do that. Let me just share the PDF that we are using for online students. Okay. So, students, you can see my PDF? Yeah? All right. So, let's pick up now on the bottom of page, on top of page 7. We're talking of, now, just generally, there are these terms that are used: leadership, management, administration. Technically, there are differences. So leadership has a lot to do with vision, telling people, this is where we're going. You're seeing a future that you want to go into or that you want to create, you want to make happen. It has a lot to do with strategy on that is, how are we going to get there? And then you're influencing people, motivating people in order to get people together, to work together towards that. And then in order to make it happen, there's organization and so on. Whereas in management, we are usually talking about planning, organizing, motivating, and creating departments, teams, all of those things under management. Administration goes a little more day-to-day things, talking about, okay, how do I actually schedule it? How do I actually execute something, make it happen, get in all the details of budgeting, accountability, working with individuals, teams, and all of that, so on. So in general, we would segregate these things, we separate that. But in reality, in practice, especially when we are working in a smaller organization, we would have to move in and out of all of these. So we can't say, okay, that person, he's responsible for vision. I am management, and somebody else is administration. Right? If it's a very big organization, those things will be very clearly differentiated. There'll be leaders. Usually in organizations, they'll be in the role of a vice president or a C-level or a managing director type level, higher than that. And then you'll have managers. Those will typically be mid-level, managers overseeing departments. And then you'll have people who are actually involved in getting things done, the administrative work. There'll be team leaders and others there. But in a small organization, it's not like that, right? You will have to move in and out of all of these things, right? So example, if you say APC is also a small organization, right? We only have maybe our full-time staff is between 30 to 40 people. Then we may have consultants, another 30, 40 consultants. The rest are all volunteers. So as an organization, we're still under 100 people. Our full-time staff was only 30, 40 people. So we can't really separate out, oh, I only do this, I only do that. It's like one person will be moving and doing all kinds of things. So in this course, we will not differentiate the roles much. Right? We won't differentiate. We will basically talk about things which you will have to do in ministry when you're leading a ministry, whether it's a leadership type of work or a management type work or administration type work, don't worry. You have to do it. Right? You'll be doing it. Unless you go join some very big organization that has like 500 people, and then they'll give you a particular role. Okay, that's an administrative role or a management role or a leadership role. It'll be very, very separated out, right? So in this course, we are not going to distinguish these things. We are just going to talk about it as one, because in reality, we, especially, if you're in an organization that has less than 100 people, you'll have to do everything. You can't say, I only don't do this, I do that. No, just do everything, right? Especially when you're starting out. So I can go back and remember when those early days, when we were starting out, I was accountant, I was sound and setup, I was media, I was, sometimes I even led worship in some places. I can't sing, but sing something, do something. Just everything. You have to do everything. Because you're there, maybe 2 or 3 people are there to help you. So you have to do it. You can't say, oh, I am the leader, I have vision. Okay, you have vision, now come and arrange the chairs. We'll talk about vision later. Right now, chairs need to be arranged. So you have to be practical. You have to do what needs to be done. Right? So that is the reality. Right? When you're starting a ministry and doing it, you have to do everything. You can't say, I don't do anything. So what are some of the objectives in good leadership or good management or good administration? What are we trying to achieve? And I put it down in this little picture here on page 7. One is we want to develop people, right? So always think in terms of how can I develop more people? Because really, if you develop more people, you can actually do more, right? You can actually get more work done. You can have more teams. You can delegate. And it'll also reduce how much you have to do personally, right? So you have to think, if you want to build an organization, you have to develop people, right? So you can look at it like this, that people are like pillars in a building. If you want to build a building, you have to have strong pillars. Right? Even in this building, now we can't see it, everything looks like walls, but there will be pillars, the main point where the weight is being borne. And then you have all the other, all the walls and all you have. But the pillars are very important because they're actually holding up the whole building. How many overflows we have here. So people are like pillars. And it's biblical. Galatians 2:6, Paul writes, he says, Peter and John, they were like pillars in the church in Jerusalem. Peter and John were like pillars in the church in Jerusalem. So to develop people. Second, we want to establish systems. Systems means in the organization, things should happen almost automatically. Like there's a system, if you want to think in terms of machines, if you press a switch or you start a machine, one part of the machine works with another part of the machine, works with another part, and all these things working together make it happen. There are a number of systems. You want to think about the human body. This is one physical body, but this body has many systems. I think there has like 9 main systems: the circulatory system, respiratory system, digestive system. All these things are there. And all these systems are working in the body and make the body function well. Right? So similarly in an organization, you have to have different systems, right? So that all the systems are working together, but each system is handling something particular. Example, I'll just say, money, handling money. There has to be like an accounting department, and there has to be many systems in that department. Example, Sunday, you're collecting offering in the church. Okay, what to do next? You have to count the money. Then you have to deposit in the bank. Okay, so 2 steps you've identified. Good. But what about some checks, like checks and balances? You count the money. How do we know that what was counted in the building, like in the service, is the same amount that was received in the office? How do we know what was received in the office is the same amount that went into the bank? Because there are, it doesn't go straight from the service congregation to the bank. It comes to the office. From office, it goes to the bank. So, okay, so now we have to put some checking and making sure that all the numbers are correct. What was collected there is what is received here. And then what is received is what is in the bank. Then we know, okay, it is working fine. Something goes wrong. Hey, something is not working fine. The system is not correct. Right? We may have a system, but we also need to check system is working correctly. So like this is a small example. Like, or if somebody wants a book, example, somebody sitting in Delhi, they want a printed copy of an APC book. What will they do? Yeah. How? So somehow they have to contact the church. There are many ways to contact. They can write a letter, send an email, make a phone call. Nowadays, you can do WhatsApp message also. So there are different ways for them to express their request. Can you please send me a copy of this book? But whom should they send the request to? Main pastor. Pastor, please send me a book. Then can the pastor be sitting and packing the book and going to post office and post? He can't. Because it is not only one request coming from Delhi. There will be requests coming from so many places. And there are so many requests. Some people are requesting one book. Some people say, I need 10 copies. Some people say, I need 100 copies. Some people say, I'm having conference, so please send me 500 copies. Whether it is one book or 500 copies, or they will have a request for many titles, we have to have a system that will meet that request. Otherwise, nothing will happen. No? So what do you think we should do? We'll discuss some of these things, but what should we do? Huh? There should be. Exactly. Yes. Post. So all these steps, like what you have said, from receiving the message, somebody has to receive the message. Be responsible. Message comes, you're responsible. And then, so we actually record the details in the database. We also record it in a common spreadsheet. Then the people who are in the warehouse, they can see it. In case that request doesn't have correct address or number, we have to check before we can do. So that also has to happen. Oh, you forgot to give us your contact number. You forgot to give us your PIN code, or you forgot to put your house door number. So we have to check. Otherwise, we can't send. Address has to be complete. Then it goes to warehouse. Warehouse, pack. Make sure whatever is requested is packed, and then sent. Okay. So that system has to be. So part of our good administration, we have a good system, and you have to have some guideline. If a request comes, you can't take 2 months to send it. He said, you give you maximum 1 week. Within one, if possible, next day you send it. But obviously, because you'll have a list of requests, right? It's not just one, but long list. Within 1 week, try to send, things like that. So the system also has to work efficiently. You have to think about it, right? So that brings us to this fine tuning, right? That means you have to see what works, what doesn't work. Initially, you put a system in place, but you can make it better, make it more efficient. Are we responding quickly? If you're not, what can we do to respond quickly? Whatever request comes from outside India, should we send, should we not send? Whom do we decide we send to and whom we decide not to send to? Those things. Even within India, should we have an upper limit? Somebody says, I want 10,000 copies. How do we verify the request is genuine? Somebody shouldn't simply be asking, and just keeping it there and not using it. So all these things you have to fine tune. And the people who are involved should know how to check, is it genuine request? If they're asking too many, can we tell them we'll send only a few? Don't waste. All these things, fine tune this. And then also, everything, almost everything I would say requires money, right? So how do we allocate the right amount of money to the various ministries that have to be done? So many different things are happening in parallel. So how do you decide where you're going, how much money is going to go? And then that's where, the leadership, the vision is important. Like, what do we really want to spend money on? What is our vision? So then we can say, okay, we will put so much money into this, so much money into that. We call budgeting. Right? So that also we need to be. Otherwise, if one ministry spends all the money, what will the other ministries do? Right? So we will have to budget properly. Right? So we'll have to, all this comes under, managing things properly, administration. So you develop people, you establish systems, you fine-tune processes, you allocate resources. What will that result in? One, it will ensure alignment to the vision. That means whatever we are doing, whatever time and energy and efforts people are putting in, should be aligned to the vision. Example, think about, this thing, for example, of a ship, people rowing a boat or rowing. You say, okay, we want to go in this direction. But if people are rowing in a different direction, so I'm working very hard, I'm working, but you're rowing in the wrong direction. Then what is the use? You're putting all your energy, but you're trying to go in a different direction. You want to go that way. So there is no alignment to the vision. Maybe they're working hard, but you have to be aligned, right? So part of this administration, making sure everything is aligned, ensure efficiency. Okay, so efficiency means how well something is being done, how efficiently it's being done. Can we do the same thing, spending lesser time, lesser money, maybe even fewer people? Simply, you don't put 3-4 people into some task which one person can do. It's a waste. If one person can do it, do it. Or if one person can do 4-5 things, okay, good. Don't hire 4-5 people to do what one person can do. And also we have to think in terms of what are the tools available. So for example, today with the tools and technologies that we have, literally, and I can speak from a technology perspective, like in software development, what used to take 1 month to do for one person, it might have taken me 1 month to do. That same work can be done within 1 day or in 4 hours in 1 day. what would have taken, like 1 month of work with the tools we have, literally. So because we know there are those tools, if somebody comes and says, I need 1 month to do this, I cannot accept it. Because I know we have the tools to do that same work in 1 day. And the same work can be done in 1 day, today, because of the tools we have. And so that is efficiency. So if we are able to do that work, what are we doing? We're going to save a lot of time, because then you can use all the remaining days for doing other things. We're going to save a lot of money for the organization overall. But that is the time, this is the time in which we are living. This is reality. So that's what we're talking about, efficiency. And an organization, as an organization, we have to be very aware, how we can become more efficient in the way we do things. And obviously that will result in productivity, bearing fruit. What is the result? We are aligned, we're working very efficiently. Result will be we will bear more fruit. Jesus said in John 15, he repeats many times, this is how my Father is glorified, that you bear more fruit. So nothing wrong in thinking of how I can be more fruitful. Right? It's nothing wrong with that. Jesus said, he's the vine, we have branches, and it's the Father is glorified when we bear more. So nothing wrong in thinking of how can we be more fruitful for the kingdom of God. Whatever ministry you're doing, whatever that fruitfulness looks like in your area of ministry. You have to think. Right? So when we have good administration, we're developing people, establishing systems, we are fine-tuning processes, we are allocating resources. The result is there is alignment to the vision, there is efficiency in the work we are doing, and there is also productivity. Now think about example. I'll tell you another example. Our books are being translated to different languages. Till maybe about some months ago, translation is all manual, meaning the person, let's say we're going to translate from Hindi to English, English to Hindi. So the person has to read line by line in English and translate line by line into Hindi. But now, what we can do is feed that whole document into any translation tool, for example, Google Translate. Just feed it. Within less than 5 minutes, the whole document is translated into Hindi. So if you imagine, that document may have taken maybe 1 month to translate. But it has been translated into Hindi in less than 5 minutes. Whole document. Hindi. Of course, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. But what does the translator now have to do? He's got a starting point. It may be about 80%, sometimes maybe 90% accurate. It's not 100% accurate. Yeah. But it has saved the translator so much time. He's got a much better starting point. So all he has to do is fill that 20% gap. Still you have to read the whole thing. Still you have to compare. I'm not saying that we have not reached that level of perfection in the AI tool, but it has saved 80% of the work. So the work that could have been done or would have been done in 1 month can be finished in a few days. Maybe 4 or 5 days finished. Just check everything. Oh yeah, it is correct. What was wrong, so just translation work, can be done so much faster because of the tools we have. Right? So all of that will happen. It'll help us in our ministry activities, in the what we are doing. to achieve our ministry goals and overall vision. So that's what we are working towards. So in order to, achieve this, there are some skills that are involved. This is bottom of page 7, which is people skills, which is very important, right? Because in administration, it's a big thing now to be able to work with people. Right? And some of the biggest areas of challenges are working with people, right? And we will talk about this. So we need to develop good people skills. How do we work with people? How do we motivate people? How do we enable them? Secondly, we also need good organizational skills. The ability to think conceptually, like, okay, we can do it in this way. These are the steps. So we can do it better this way. To think in terms of systems and processes and review these and make it better. Right? Just because it's working in a certain way doesn't mean that's the only way or that's the best way. We could find ways to do it better. Right? So you think constantly. And execution. Execution is how do you bring people and how do you bring these organizational skills to actually make things happen? How do you put them all together and allocate time, money, resources, and then actually make it happen? Then you measure, the outcome and see whether we can improve or where we are falling short. And so execution, making things happen, is very important, right? So these are the objectives we work towards when we are thinking in terms of organization and administration. So let's just pause here to see if there are any questions online. Yeah. Any questions from anyone online? Everyone's fine? Any questions here? Sorry?
Like is conceptual skills, can you explain once more? Organizational skills.
Yeah. So conceptual means we're thinking to say organizational skills. It's primarily how you see things. That means you need to be able to see in terms of systems and process. Like you need to think about it. So it's a conceptual. Think about it and how we can then put the right people in the right place. So conceptual. So thinking work. Yeah. So people skills, we say human skills, working with people. Organizational means the conceptual, you thinking about systems, process. And then execution means technical, like how do you bring it all together? Okay. Yeah.
Pastor, I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Do you write down this as a policy and keep updating as required?
Yeah. So I will just refer all of us to apcwo.org/guidelines, CUIDELINES. So if you go to this our website under apcwo.org/guidelines, we actually try to document a lot of these things. How different, what are the best practices in different areas and so on. So we keep documenting this, we keep updating it. And of course, we put it out there publicly because sometimes other churches, ministries will ask us, how do you do this? And it's easy to tell, just go here, you'll find everything. So the answer to your question is yes, we document a lot of these things that, we try to do. And I will share these, one is most of them are up online there in that web page, apcwo.org/guidelines. Most of them are already there. And some documents are, still internally, it's kept internally. We may not have put it out there yet, but eventually everything will go there. So we try to document it. And of course, things keep changing, just because we're doing something a certain way in the month of January. Maybe in October, we'll decide to change it to make it better, so that we try to keep documents up to date. We try. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Pastor.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah. Okay, so shall we move forward? Any question? All right. So let's begin to get into the details now. The first step for any church ministry, very important, is to form a legal entity. Okay, that in India we call it a trust. It's called as a religious trust. That legal entity is called a religious trust. Other parts of the world, it may be called something else. For example, in the US, they would refer to it as a 501c3 non-profit organization, a religious non-profit organization. In India, it's a religious trust. So in different parts of the world, it may be called by different names, but the important thing is to form early on, when you start your ministry, to form a legal entity. And there are many reasons. We will talk about it. But there are problems if you don't form it as a legal entity. So you're running a church. You may run it at home. You may call some people at home. You're having church service at home. Maybe 15 people, 20 people. Okay. Suppose some problem happens. Suppose you're not registered as a legal entity. Suppose some problem happens. There is actually no legal basis because it's an informal gathering. It's just an informal gathering. Spiritually, yes, you can say, yeah, we are a church. That nobody will argue. Because spiritually, yeah, we are the body of Christ. Where 2 or 3 are gathered, the Lord is there. All that is correct. But we can't go tell the police station. You can't go and tell the court. Or you can't go tell the accountant. Like, we are a church because we are spiritually, we are coming. They won't understand. Doesn't work. So to open a bank account, you need to have a legal entity. If you want to sign a contract, you want to rent a building, you have to be a legal entity, or you take it in your personal name, right? But then you become personally responsible then. So for all practical purposes, right, it is good as soon as possible. You may not be able to immediately, but as soon as possible to form that church or that Christian ministry or organization, form it as a legal entity, register it with the government. So look, there'll be a local office in that city, in the town, called the registrar's office. You go there. So usually we will work with the help of a chartered accountant. So we personally won't do everything. You go to a chartered accountant, or you go to sometimes even lawyers help with this. They will draft out for you. You have to have a document, the articles of the trust. And this a legal document. It says this is the name of the trust. These are the trustees or the office bearers, and then the purpose and the objectives of trust. So everything has to be written down. I will share a copy of our document, but our document is very old. It is from 2001. And so the way things would be done today may be slightly different. But I will upload that. It's a very old document because but it gives you an idea of how to form a religious trust. So in that document, you have to say everything what this organization is going to do. And it is good to put in that document things that you're planning to do, which you may not be doing now. So in that document, 2001, we should buy land. We should be able to start Bible college. We should have churches around the country. Those days, it was still a small group, less than 20 people or something. When we actually registered, we only about 20 people. But in the document, you have to put everything you plan to do even in the future. Whatever, whatever that organization is going to do or planning to do. And even some things, maybe at that time, you may not have a clear idea, just put it down. Then this is where the lawyer or the chartered accountant will help you. Let's say, this is what you can put down in a religious organization. So again, the government has rules. What a religious organization can do and cannot do. So everything has to follow those rules. For example, a religious organization cannot run business. A religious organization cannot buy and sell products, like at least in India, right? You're not allowed to do that. Right? So whatever you put in the trust, you have to, all has to follow the rules. But within the rules of the government, you say, I'm going to do these things. All has to be written down. Okay? So I will share our trust deed with you. But let's look at this here on page number 8. Some guiding principles. We must submit to civic authorities. So as a church, yes, we are the church. Yes, we are, Jesus has given us the keys of the kingdom of heaven. But while you are on earth, you follow the rules of your country. You cannot go to the court and say, I have the keys of the kingdom of heaven. They won't understand. So you tell us now what you're doing here. So there is that balance of spiritual side, yeah. But when you are in a country, when you're in a particular state, you have to follow the rules. And Paul wrote about this in Romans 13. I say to be submitted to the authorities who are there. Right? So that is something you must not forget. Right? Sometimes people say, oh, I'm minister of God, I'm anointed. We are a church, we are the keys of the kingdom of heaven, we can do what we want. No, they will come. Government will come. Income tax people will come. And they'll say, are you following the rules? And we have to be blameless in how we conduct our ministry. So let's look at that. I like that. 2 Corinthians 6, 3 and 4, what Paul says there. It's, we're not reading all the verses, but some verses I'll just point us to. 2 Corinthians 6, verses 3 and 4. Paul says here in 2 Corinthians 6, 3 and 4, we give no offense in anything, that our ministry may not be blamed. But in all things we commend ourselves as ministers of God. So Paul is saying, see, I don't want the ministry to be blamed in anything. But all things, people have to see us as ministers of God. 2 Corinthians 6, 3 and 4. Right? That we don't offend in anything. How we are managing money, are we following the rules? Are we filing our, the documents you're supposed to file with the government? Are we following the rules? We don't want the blame to be blamed. So even in India, especially I would say in the last 10 years, many organizations, Christian organizations, got into trouble. Why? Government simply said, have you been filing your reports every year? For many years, they didn't file. Then government came. But we cannot call it persecution. Oh, they are persecuting us. No, they're not persecuting. They're just asking you, have you filed your reports? Answer is no. Then we say, oh, they're persecuting. Correct? So, if we are on the right side of the law, then a lot of these problems can be avoided. They'll ask, if they have a right to ask. But our responsibility, yeah, we already done it. Here's the thing, we already did it. They will always ask. They'll ask everybody. everybody will get a email or a notice saying, have you filed your taxes or have you filed your reports? We want to know what things are. Everybody will get that. And our response is, yeah, we did it. Here is it. Here it is. Finished. But if we don't, then we are already starting. In starting itself, we are in the wrong side. We don't have any defense. So Paul said, in nothing we want to give any offense, and so that people will see that we are ministers of God. We want to be honorable in all things, especially finance. Again, 2 Corinthians 8:21 is a really good verse to look at, because Paul is talking about money here in 2 Corinthians 8:21. And notice what he is saying. He is actually collecting money. He's taking offering from different churches to send the money to Jerusalem. And notice what he says in 2 Corinthians 8:21. He says, providing honorable things, not only in the sight of the Lord, but also in the sight of men. So he's saying, see, I want to do it in a way that is honorable, not only in God's eyes, but also in man's eyes. He's collecting money. He's collecting offering. Not for himself. He's collecting it to help the people in Jerusalem. But even in that, he says, I want to do it in a way that honors God and it is honorable in the eyes of people. People should not point finger. They shouldn't see that, something he's doing something, no. It should be very clear in how we handle money, especially, right? We should be honorable in all things. And of course, at the end of the day, you want to maintain a clear conscience. Your conscience must be clear. Now, I remember many years ago, so which year would this be? I'm trying to think. Now, I did write all these things down. But anyway, some many years ago, I'll just share this quick story and then we'll go for a break. In the Bangalore city, many of us pastors, I think about 30 pastors of 30 churches, we'd all come together. And out of that, basically all of us, we agreed to form an organization so that we could all, when we want to do things common together for the city, we will do it through this organization. We all agreed. And then out of that 30 people, about 12 of us were signatories. We signed on that. Organization signed everything. And then in one of our projects, different churches contributed money. So APC also contributed. And at that time, I remember, now I think we had just made an initial contribution of 1 lakh, 100,000 rupees, 1 lakh. For that project. But then 1 or 2 months, the project was canceled. We decided not to go ahead with it. So we said, okay, let's return the money that whoever gave, whichever church gave, you return the money because we're not going to use it for the project return. So now the organization had one person, like a secretary, who would handle all the work. And I remember getting this call from him. And he said, Pastor, we're returning the money to each and every church. So 1 lakh had come from APC. We are going to return it. And he asked me this question. Do you want the check in your name or you want it in the name of the church? Now, when I heard that question, I got so angry. What kind of a question this is? We are returning the money that came from every church. Where must the money go? Must go to the church. There's no question about it. There's no question about it. But this man is asking me, he's managing everything. And he's asking me on the phone, do you want the check in your name or you want the check in the name of the? I got so angry. So what kind of a question this is? You know the answer before you're asking me. Why are you asking me the question? I fired him. I said, see, the money came from the church. It has to go to the. What kind of question this is? Okay, Pastor. But I'm just sharing that because this is all Christian work going on. But this is what is happening behind the scenes. This man is asking. So I was thinking in my mind, I don't know what the other pastor, like if he's asking this question to all the other people. And what if some people say, yeah, put it in my name. Gone, money is gone. From the church it went here, from here it went to their account. Whatever that is. I don't know. I didn't investigate or anything. I only know this, the call I received. But it comes back to this. You need to maintain a clear conscience. Even if he had, for example, even if he had written the check in my name, I put it in my bank account and nobody knew about it. Nobody knew. It went from church there, it came, went to my account. Nobody knew. But will my conscience be clear? No. I can't fool my own conscience. Finished. God and me, I can't cheat. Two people, we can't cheat. Can't cheat God, you can't cheat yourself because you know the truth. Right? So let's pause here. We'll continue after the break. Right? All right. Oh.